There is a version of you, Virgo, that has been waiting quietly for permission to exist. Today's sky may finally hand it over, and the person who receives it may not look like who you expected to become. Something ended recently in the part of your chart that governs partnership, and what happens next depends less on the stars than on whether you are willing to actually meet the stranger looking back at you in the mirror. Here is the shape of it. In Western tropical astrology, the North Node has moved out of your partnership axis, closing a long chapter built around other people's needs, other people's timing, other people's definitions of what you should be. That kind of ending is not a small thing. It can feel like grief, even when the thing that ended was not good for you. But endings in astrology carry as much weight as beginnings. And this one is asking you to go looking for the self that got quietly edited out while you were busy managing a relationship, a job, or a role that never really let you evolve. Layered on top of that life path shift is today's faster moving weather. The moon is currently in Aquarius, sharpening your thinking to an unusually clear, almost surgical edge, the kind of mental clarity where problems that felt tangled last week suddenly show their seams. Later, that same lunar energy shifts, and the moon slides into Pisces and into your 7th house of partnership, where it opposes Venus sitting in your own sign. That is a specific, real aspect, not a vague mood, and it means someone else's needs may get loud right as your own standards get louder too. By the time the moon reaches Aries, it moves into your 8th house of intimacy, the zone of trust, merging, and things you would rather not discuss over breakfast. 3 lunar chapters in one day, each one nudging you toward the same underlying theme. It is time to stop performing calm and start being honest. You may have noticed that disappointment, for you, rarely announces itself. It tends to arrive disguised as a mental list, a private audit of everyone else's flaws, running quietly while your face stays composed. That is the Venus-Moon opposition talking. But here is what changes everything about today. The pattern only wins if you let it stay silent. When the Aquarius clarity of the morning meets the Piscean vulnerability of the afternoon, you are being offered an unusual gift, the ability to see a relationship problem with sharp eyes and still choose a soft mouth. Say the uneven thing out loud instead of filing it away. Ask directly what someone can actually offer you, rather than assuming you already know. Clarity is not the same thing as conflict, no matter how much your nervous system insists otherwise. Take a breath here, because this next part is personal. As evening moves in, and the moon settles into Aries in your 8th house, something in you may quietly wake up. Call it your seductive side, call it curiosity, call it whatever feels true, but there is a pull toward a certain someone that might feel more urgent than it did yesterday. This is where 2 very different tellings of today's sky actually agree. One tradition frames it as excitement worth savoring slowly. The compassionate side of this same energy earlier in the day trains your mind for connection, meaning conversation, not impulsiveness, is what actually recharges you. Both are pointing at the same truth from different angles. The goal today is not to suppress the pull, it is to slow it down enough to trust it. A conversation about trust, money, or intimacy may move faster than you would planned, and someone might ask for an answer before you feel ready to give one. You are allowed to not agree just to end the discomfort. Ask for detail. Name your limit out loud. A slower yes, offered with your full mind present, will serve you far better than a fast one you quietly resent by Wednesday. We will come back to that 8th house pull in a moment, but first, your working life deserves its own honest look, because today it is asking something different of you than your relationships are. The Aquarius moon's mental sharpness does not stay confined to personal matters. It bleeds into how you solve problems at your desk too. Old professional frustrations, the kind that have quietly stressed you for weeks, may suddenly show a clear solution, almost as if your logical reasoning has been sharpened overnight. This is not the day to force productivity through sheer willpower. It is the day to talk your way into your best ideas. Step away from the task list. A walk, a real conversation with someone who reflects your thinking back to you clearly, functions today less like a break and more like the actual engine of your work. Many Virgos find their best insight arrives sideways, in the middle of an unrelated conversation, rather than head-on at a desk. If today feels that way for you, trust it. That North Node shift out of old partnership patterns is not just personal either. It may be quietly reshaping how you show up professionally too, since the same stuck system that limited your relationships likely limited how boldly you contributed at work. A new approach in one area tends to ripple into the other. That rebirth energy carries a financial thread worth noticing, and it is a gentle one, not a dramatic one. A modest financial lift may be arriving, particularly if you have been circling the idea of further study, a course, a certification, a return to school of some kind. The timing lines up. If you have been telling yourself someday about investing in your own skill set, today's chart leans toward that someday moving closer. This is not the moment for large financial risk, especially with intimacy-related conversations about money already asking for your careful attention elsewhere in the day. Let this be a quiet, steady signal rather than a leap. Here is what makes today genuinely rare for you specifically. You are carrying 3 separate signals, all converging on the same instruction. The ending of an old partnership pattern, the demand for honest words instead of silent judgment, and the pull toward a faster, more urgent intimacy. Every single one of them is really asking you to stop editing yourself for other people's comfort. That is the truth bomb worth sitting with. Most people will read today's horoscope as being about love, or about work, or about money, as if they are separate stories. They are not. They are one story, told 3 times. Let that sink in for a moment, because it changes how you should treat your body today too. Family tension may be part of this day's texture, and it has a way of settling directly into your shoulders, your stomach, your blood pressure. Protect your peace deliberately rather than absorbing every difficult exchange as your job to fix. If your blood pressure tends to run low, eating well today is not a throwaway suggestion. It is a real support for the mental sharpness you are relying on elsewhere. In Vedic tradition, today's fortunate color is described as green, and the hour between 5 and 6 in the evening is considered especially favorable. A nice detail to keep in your back pocket rather than a rule to build your day around. If you ever feel pulled toward deeper remedies, mantras, or gemstone recommendations from Vedic astrologers, know that legitimate practitioners tailor those to your individual birth chart, not to your sun sign alone. So treat any specific stone recommendation you hear elsewhere with healthy skepticism until it has been checked against your actual chart. If you have been feeling low on social energy, single Virgos in particular may find real comfort today in the company of other Virgos, people who understand your particular blend of precision and warmth without needing it explained. That is not a small thing on a day already asking so much emotional honesty of you. If you are partnered, a serious, overdue conversation could finally clear air that has been thick for a while, and it may land better than you expect, precisely because you are mentally sharper than usual today. Family tension, if it shows up, likely is not really about the specific argument on the surface. It is often the same old pattern of unspoken expectations finally surfacing. You do not have to solve generations of family dynamics in one evening. You just have to protect your own peace inside it. This is where today's chart takes its quietest turn. If travel comes up today, keep plans loose rather than rigid, since your mental clarity is high, but your emotional undercurrents, especially by evening, are running strong and a little unpredictable. Spiritually, this is a good day to sit with the bigger question underneath everything else that has happened. Who were you before you built your identity around managing other people's needs? The old partnership pattern that just ended in your chart did not fail because you were not good at it. It ended because it was never built to let you grow. That is worth writing down somewhere. You will see it again. If you are looking for the quick version to keep in your pocket, green is your color today. The hour between 5 and 6 in the evening carries extra luck. Your sharpest thinking arrives through conversation rather than isolation. And the biggest financial or relational decisions deserve a slower yes rather than a fast one. So here is where all of this actually lands. Say the honest thing instead of filing it away as a private list of complaints. Let a walk and talk replace forced productivity when your ideas feel stuck. Protect your peace around family without needing to fix everyone. And if someone asks for an answer about trust, money, or intimacy before you are ready, it is completely fine to ask for more time. None of this requires you to have all the answers today. It just requires you to stop editing the parts of yourself that were never really the problem. If this is the day something in you finally clicks, you will likely recognize it not as a lightning bolt, but as a quiet, steady exhale. That is usually how the real shifts arrive.